Welcome back at the Customer Freedom, ladies and gentlemen, where we discuss our perspectives on the different things one can do to become a digital nomad. Mind you, we all have different backgrounds, so whatever you hear on this podcast, make sure to take it with a grain of salt and take whatever resonates with you and apply it as you see fit. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into it. I have a very special friend of mine, and I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Ozair Khan. I'm from New York, Bronx, originally, and I've lived all over the U.S. and raised mainly in Connecticut. I've been a digital nomad for about 2 to 3 years. Started off actually in more of a warehouse setting, and actually never acquired my degree. So if they say that you need a degree to be a digital nomad, it's not true.
Okay, that's tough. All right, so when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grow up?
I really wanted to get into business. I really wanted to own a business. I really wanted to get into corporate life. I really wanted to work in an office setting and just have that corporate background. It's just something I dreamed of. My dad was always a type of person who's always working with his hands, always busting his ass, trying to do some sort of contract labor, trying to do plumbing, work cars, everything he possibly could do. And the guy was so tired at the end of the day. It was funny to actually spend time with his family without, having to correct companies.
Interesting. So would you say that your ambition to pursue business stemmed from your father, or did it stem from a certain characteristic that you saw within yourself?
I think I didn't really have too much parenting when I was growing up. So a lot of the time when my parents were working on their own business, which included like grocery stores, you name it, some of the real estate, just trying to get their properties all set. It was just always something that they always wanted to acquire in order for them to be comfortable in life. And it's something where I resonated with for quite a while, because I didn't know if it was their fault that this was happening, or if they really needed to do whatever they needed to do in order for us to have food on the table, in order for us to have clothes, etc. But as I grew older, I understood why they were working so much and why they were so ambitious to be in business. And I think that's what really got me going, was the why behind why they were doing it.
Okay, so why were they doing it, and did you pursue business in college, given that you understood the why?
Yeah, so a big part of my life was actually music. So a lot of the days actually was me just going to school and kind of having that loneliness to being a kid. Like, as weird as that sounds, my sister was a lot older than me, so she was pursuing different things. My brother was a lot older than me, so he was also pursuing different things. My mom and dad were working. So for me, it was more like music was like my outlet to go and be inspired and try to get into business. And a big part of that was actually Jay-Z.
Okay.
Usually, because he was a huge business entrepreneur right after he came out of rap. That's all of the Black Album, the Blueprint, all these albums really kind of inspired me to go in and try to get into business, try to influence the world. Mainly because he was from New York, I was from New York, and I was just feeling like the way he felt when he was a kid. He didn't have much to relate to with his father, and not being there, and then his mom just being there to kind of make ends meet with everything going on in their family. So it really inspired me more. And looking at my dad while I was growing up and seeing him work so hard, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to continue to be sweating my butt off every single day in my 40s, in my 50s. I really didn't want to do that. It's not something I wanted to do. And as I grew older, I wasn't the best in school. I wasn't really that great. I just kind of messed around a lot. And as I learned about myself, I actually realized that I'm a very social person. So I could connect with like almost anyone. I could have a conversation with even someone who's very silent. I know the right questions to ask them in order for them to actually speak up and get to the point where they're comfortable speaking with me. So I realized that really early on. And I actually really wanted to go to school for psychology.
Okay.
And I was like, I wanted to get into this. I really wanted to be.
You thought your gift was therapeutic.
Yes. So there was a lot of times if my mom would come to me, my sisters would come to me, or my sister would come to me, my brother would come to me, my cousins would come to me, other people that I knew that were friends with me asking me for advice, and it was just like, okay, now I'm getting to this point where it's like, okay, I like doing things, I like helping people, I like to get into the why behind something. The body language that someone gives you when they actually talk to you and have a conversation with you. Is it real or is it not? Is there something that they really want behind the conversation they're giving back to you?
Yeah.
Are they really pretentious, or do they really want to be your friend? So things like that. really interested me in the human mind. It was just something that I fell in love with.
So you went to school for psychology?
I didn't. I didn't actually. I didn't. It's the funny part. I didn't actually end up going to school for business. So that's when I first initially started. And I'll tell you why the psychology comes and plays into whatever I'm in now. But I started to go to school for business. I did community college. I barely passed high school. I was a troublemaker, so I barely passed high school, and I went to community college, and I really received financial aid. So financial aid for about 2 years. I almost had my associate's degree. And the reason I didn't continue to go further was my parents just got to that point where they were making enough money in order for me to not get financial aid anymore.
Interesting.
So I just had to actually pay for it. And at that point, I was moved out of my parents' house, paying rent, bills, everything on my own. It was just.
How old were you, just for reference?
I was about 21, I believe. And I just had to pay for everything on my own at that point. I asked my parents, hey, if I get A's and B's during financial aid, then good to go. And I can't pay for the rest of my schooling. Unfortunately, due to their circumstances of where they were at in life, they could not pay for it. They wanted me to pay for it at the end of the day. So I made the choice. It probably wasn't the best choice, now that I look back on it. I wish I actually did college and went through it and paid for it and really struggled through the rest of it. But I ended up turning out perfectly fine in a career that I actually really loved. So while I was working, while I was actually going to community college, I started working warehouse jobs. So I was working community college, and I was working warehouse jobs during the day.
Okay. Like Amazon warehouse jobs?
No. This was a long time ago, so I was working at it's like German manufacturing company that could manufacture conveyor belts for ship razors and stuff.
And the purpose of the job was basically to just get you by?
Yeah, pretty much. So I was doing everything, shipping, receiving. At one point, I thought that would be my life.
Okay.
So I was just doing everything I could there. I was making $12 an hour, sweating my butt off every day. Just doing everything I possibly can, learning everything I possibly can. A CNC router, everything I could possibly do there. And then I ended up finding another job that was actually giving me more pay, with better equipment, after a career for 2 years. And then actually I was money from there. It was a contract job, so it was the first time I actually was introduced to a staffing firm.
Okay.
The staffing firm said, okay, well, we have a contract now, it's time to hire. So we get to this job, we work a couple of months, and then if they decide to hire you, you get more money. And we work with that permanently. We're not out of the picture. Didn't really understand it at first. So I was like, okay, well, how do you get your money? What do you do in order for an exchange to work?
Yeah.
I thought maybe they were taking a cut. Not really, in a sense. You understand staffing firm, the billing rate that they have between a company is different from that. So whatever you want to have as for pay, they will abide by it, or they won't publish. Okay. So I understood that part afterward. I worked for the company for a little while, and then I just continued to get contract jobs. And then they just kept giving me more money, and I just hit contract job after contract job after contract job. And then
How long would these contract jobs last?
like 2-3 months.
Okay.
2-3 months each. These are more temporary jobs. I think the last one was attempt to hire. But they offered me a attempt to hire job, but one of the staffing firm owner actually came over to me, and when I was about to get my new contract, and he goes, he's like, hey, you talk really good. You speak with a lot of people say great things about you in the contract job.
Okay.
We wondered if you're interested in the sales position.
Okay. And you do business? Okay.
Right. So I was like, okay, sales position. I was like, yeah, it's about the same money as you would in a warehouse, and you'd be in an office. So I'm like, yes, I would love to do that. And at that point, it was about the same time that I actually was dropping out of college. So it was the perfect time for me to get the experience I could, kind of in a 6-month contract position with this old telecommunications company. It's called Telsman. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that. It's kind of like part of Alcatel-Lucent. It's also a pretty big phone brand.
Okay.
That also comes with Bell Towers. But regardless, I was working with this guy who was about 70 years old. He was a veteran. He taught me every single thing I could possibly think of as basics for a salesperson. I sat next to him in a small office every single day, and he taught me forever about the way in the position and how he got into marketing, how he's done sales, how the marketers work, how to think, and how to say things to a certain person. Really just understanding the whole idea of a cold call. And I'll tell you, I absolutely hated it. So I was there for 6 months. They wanted to extend the contract and give me more money. But I told them, honestly, I'm so fed up with doing cold calls. I'm done. I'd rather just do warehouse at this point.
Interesting.
Or give me something that is in an office, now that I have 6 months of experience. Give me something. So from there, they gave me a contract position as a marketing assistant for dental. For a small little dental place. They gave me more money, and I was able to do marketing there. I was able to learn marketing.
Were you also doing cold calls on that one? Or?
No, so
Okay.
that was the thing. I love that because I was actually creating content. I was actually creating incentives to come to the dental office, having people come in and review the dental office in order for more traffic to come in. And I was pretty successful. I had a good rate of people going into the dental office and new patients.
Yeah.
And people started to know me a lot more. And started to, hey, joke around me. I was there at the front desk talking to everyone, giving out, things to say, okay, well, if you come and refer a friend, you get a toothbrush and this, that.
Okay.
Yeah, stuff like that. But it was really meaningful because there was a lot of older clients in a smaller town. So from there, that's where my contract ended. So I went back to warehouse because that's all they had at the time. I have to work, right?
Yeah.
So from there, actually, I met this person. We were in this warehouse, and this person says next to me, we're scanning books, or that's all we're doing the whole time. We're just scanning books. This warehouse, it's like a book distribution company that goes through donations of books, grabs them, and then scans them and sells them.
Okay.
So that's their whole business. So me and this guy had no idea who we were. We didn't talk for like 2 minutes.
Scanning boxes.
Yeah, we're just scanning books and stuff like that. And then I think like he overhears me like listening to a song, like a rock song, or something like that. And he's like, oh, that's a sweet song. And then like I was just yeah. And then after a couple more days, he's just like, you smoke weed? And I was just like, yeah. So that we became best friends.
Oh my god. Off a doobie.
Off a doobie. And we're just both sitting there high as hell, laughing our asses off, talking about every single thing you could possibly think about. Girls, space, money, like business, everything you think about in the world. We're just like the bestest friends. So we scanning books every day. We ended up both getting promoted to be like the supervisors of the warehouse and got to the library. We started shipping and receiving other books instead. And they promised us like pretty much everything at that point. Like they're like, oh, you guys can have like a door here. We can start making you building this, that, and third. And then little do I know that 2 days later, that the actual business gets shut down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a heartbreak.
Right. And I thought that was gonna be my life.
Yeah. So what'd you do? I'm on the edge of my seat now. What'd you do?
We ended up splitting ways. I mean, he went and did his thing. He went to go find another warehouse job. I actually ended up getting a job at Swiss Cleaners for about 2 days. I get a call from my friend at the warehouse, Steve. Love Steve. And he gives me a call and he says, hey, would you be interested in like a recruiter job? And I was like, well, what does that entail? What do I do? He's like, well, it's kind of like sales, but not really. Like you're kind of selling somebody on a position that's a better position than where they're at. Okay. Okay. I'm like, how much does it pay? And he's like, well, it pays less than what you're making now. So it's like, all right. It's actually $3 less than I was thinking. But I was like, all right, well, I'll be in the office. What do you learn? He's like, yeah, you look staff, like engineers, software engineers, business analysts, chemical engineers, research scientists. And I was like, that sounds awesome. He's like, I get to learn all that. Count me in. So I went in, went for an interview. I was fully suited and everything up. And the guys are almost laughing. Because they're just like, it's not that serious. Yeah. they're like, you look like a funeral owner or something like that. But I ended up getting the job, and I was there for about 6 months. I learned so much that I just completely fell in love with the recruiting side of it. That's the only thing I didn't like about it was that they wanted us to also do cold calls and do sales half the time as well. So I didn't like that aspect of it. As I said before, it wasn't my forte. I don't like doubled my salary. Started out from scratch, and the guy took me under his wing and showed me how to actually recruit the right way and kept me to recruiting. And just literally trained me day in, day out. I was the only person there every day until the last one, until the 7 o'clock in the afternoon. Just was trying to learn as much as I can. I was actually the only one there without my degree as well.
Wow.
So it was
You
just,
had something to prove.
Exactly. And the funny thing was that in my 5th interview with the director of the company, the guy from Portugal initially reached out to me. The funny thing is that he asked me, why do I want this job?
Why?
Yeah,
The
why
big
do I want this job? And being kind of like a kid, I was like 20, I think 22 or something like that. And being a kid, just not really knowing and not having the education that you have from college to really answer a question like that, I thought the most professional answer possible, right? I really want to help people, I want to help the economy, and I want to be able to help connect a person to the right path in their career.
That's a good answer.
And give them advice. And that really truly was what I really wanted to do. But instead, I froze. He looked me in the eye and he just kind of froze and goes, bullshit. And I'm like, I thought that was pretty good. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. So I'm like, sitting there and it's like, seriously, why do you want to? And it's exactly the same story I told you from growing up and my ambition, where I was coming from, how I came up, what I didn't want to do. I fought like my father. It was all of that. And as soon as I kind of did that, he stood up, came over, and he was like, hey, you have the job.
You got the job.
And he's like, you know why? He's like, you know why I hired you? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, because you remind me of me. He's like, my parents, my mom sent me over to the U.S. because I was a bad kid in Portugal, and they did it as a punishment. You don't prove yourself. They didn't give me any money or anything like that. So he's like, I wanted to do the same thing. And I can see the ambition of your hard work. So from there, he pretty much took it under his wing. We killed it in the company. He ended up moving over to Boston after 2-3 years. I was in the company for 2-3 years as well. He moved to Boston with another company as another director at a higher level, a higher position, with a bigger company.
So what did he
He told me to come right with him.
Oh, nice.
Doubled my salary again. And
That's a cool dude.
Yeah, and then from there we killed it there as well. COVID happened, and then I ended up getting laid off during that time. And this is gonna sound bad, but COVID was a gift from Chris for me. So,
How was it a gift? How was it a gift?
so at these points, as a gift, it's because now I get to work from home. Curse because of all the things that were bad around it in terms of people suffering, my parents having underlying conditions.
Oh, wow.
And having to get the vaccine. It's something that we really agree with. It was a very hard time for everyone, right? But it was also a gift to me because it opened up the door of working from home.
Yeah.
So I wasn't working from home up until pretty much pretty much in the midst of COVID. My boss gave me a call back. He says, hey, the mortgage industry is crazy right now. They're staffing, they're hiring so many people at this point. They got love for you to come back in and start the staffing. So I did, and after 6 months, pretty much had blank space, not working and not able to find a job. I was able to come back to the same company, work for them. At that point, Amazon reached out. So,
You got on the radar.
yeah, so I got on the radar after many years of recruiting and being successful in my recruiting aspects. There's a lot of numbers and everything are on my resume, showing my KPIs, everything like that, with percentages. There's a lot of data on my resume where you can honestly tell I put the work. And I made a decent amount of money off the commissions I was made off the And at that point, I had a choice of well, do I want to work somewhere internally, right? Or do I want to continue to work in a sense where it's almost like sales as well, and it's a lot more cutthroat.
Was it between your job that you went back to in Amazon?
This is the job that I'm being offered at Amazon.
Okay, and the one that.
now I'm in Boston.
Okay.
Thinking of go take this job at Amazon. One, it was fully remote, and I loved that. Fully remote. Two, there was not really a remote. Three, it is double myself. The last thing was that I didn't want to break my ball.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, this is happening. And then he tells me, actually, it's the funniest thing. He goes to me, he's like, take it. He didn't even say stay. He's like, I'd love for you to stay, but he's like, I can't match that salary. He's like, I can't do that. He's like, you're gonna learn so much more with the technology that they have. So and the stuff that they're gonna give you. So go do that. He's like, by the way, in about 6 months, I'm moving to Miami, and I'm gonna be vice president of operations. So he's like, take it. He's like, if you don't like it, reach back out to me.
Well, that's a really cool guy.
Yeah. So from there, man, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I've been working for Amazon for the past 2 years now. He's still sitting in my inbox, always messaging me, asking me if I need help or if I need something around, IT. Doesn't make good advice. So I was a really good friend for it. Good friend. We went out before, hung out, talked about so I think I got lucky in a sense, and in another sense, I was just more just like being a people person, connecting with people and really just opening up and kind of being more than just regular small talk conversation, and just kind of being like having a deeper sense of conversation.
I don't think you got lucky at all, bro. I think you just put in the work and it showed off. Because, a degree doesn't even, I mean, you go to school to prove that we can do a certain amount of work within a certain period of time. But yeah, the fact that you showed that without going to college shows a lot, man. It shows, you got that mentality, man. So what was the hardest part about, working in Boston? Was it in Boston?
Yeah, so Boston, so the hardest part about working in Boston is that I didn't have any friends. I had no one there, just like being my boss. My boss knew that, so he'd bring me out, do stuff with me. He's like a super busy guy. He had a girlfriend, a lot older than me, he had his family there. And I started to make friends. That was like kind of the hard part of it. It was just like kind of being alone there, and then also proving myself, yeah. And again, when something over your salary, I kind of want to prove to them that, hey, it was worth it to bring me here. So I was up at 4 in the morning, going to sleep at like 8 o'clock, stuff like that, just really coming in, like, I can understand the situation that now. Hardest way possible. Like, I really did put super work in, grinded my way to actually understand everything, and make it like that.
If you could go back within your recruiting career, is there anything you could do better? You feel like?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. There's definitely times where, it kind of got to this point where I was very young. It was kind of a dog eat dog world where people in staffing firms said, no, it's really bad. This is why I probably don't want to work with that firm again. People have favorites. People will be like, okay, well, he's got a family, he's got kids, so like I'm gonna give this jobs to this person or that person. So I remember that kind of happened to me a couple of times, and they were like, oh well, he's been working here for so long, so let me get him this perfect job as so stuff like that happened to me, and I kind of got that resentment, and I ended up doing it to another person. And I felt terrible about it. It was not ethical, it wasn't the right way of doing things. It just wasn't the right thing. So it was just like, okay, why did I do something that someone did to me, someone else? So
That's a good reflection, yeah.
I think that's something that I would definitely, I regretted it. Could have done a lot different. So that's something I wouldn't think about.
I would normally ask a bunch of questions, but I feel like the way you broke down your story from when you were a kid and watching your parents like be hands-on and hardworking and how you applied yourself like after you dropped out of college, I feel like you gave a really, really good rundown on like the adversity you went through and how you overcame it by simply being yourself in some ways, but also like, by also putting your best foot forward, especially because you have a degree. So that said, I feel like you've given a good rundown of why and how you became a digital nomad. So let's dive a little bit into some philosophy of life. Do you have anything that you live by day to day?
I think it was something from Marcus Aurelius, the old Roman Empire.
Philosopher, yeah.
Yeah, he was a philosopher. his book Meditations really kind of stuck with me. And this one quote was just was a really famous quote. I think a lot of people pick on it a lot because it kind of it relates to modern day problems.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a quote. I don't know word for word, but it's a quote about him being in bed. He said, "He's not in bed. Why should I wake up every day? Why should I go out and do work and do all these things when I feel so comfortable?
Yeah.
Being in a blanket, being warm, being cozy, and I don't have to. You know, I'm an adult. I can do that if I want to do it.
True.
I don't have to. It's just as like the bees work, the birds chirp, the birds go, animals go hunting. The nature just does these things all around you. They have these jobs that they do. Why wouldn't you do the same?
Interesting. That's tough. That's tough because they could also be laying down and not doing shit.
Right, correct. But they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. It's the natural instinct. It's the constant thing that works on. It makes the world go round.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So why would I be the one to be lazy and be in my blanket every day and not go to when I get peace? To me, it feels accomplished. If I spend a day in bed, I don't feel accomplished.
What are some challenges of being a digital nomad? You've been a digital nomad for about 2 to 3 years now. I'm sure you travel a lot. Yeah, what are some like pros and cons that you've identified throughout your journey of being a digital nomad?
I would say some pros is that you get to work wherever you want. From my position, a lot of the times I don't have a set schedule. I can work on a Saturday if I wanted to, skip a Wednesday, or I can kind of flip-flop, go back and forth and have hours, kind of be sporadic throughout the day. But don't get me wrong, sometimes I'm working like 60 hours a week. Sometimes it'll be like 30 or 40 in a good season. Right now it's a little bit of a weird time since there's a lot of layoffs going on in FinTech.
Yeah.
So at the moment I do have a lot of time, but I think it'll pick up in the near future, and I think it's going to probably be around the same, like maybe 60 to 40 to 30, kind of going back and forth depending on the need that we have.
Okay.
Some pros as well is that it's awesome getting to travel, getting to meet so many different people, getting to meet someone like yourself, meeting other digital nomads. You kind of just figure out how do you work your schedule around everything. What tips and tricks do you do in order for me to take advantage of travel and being able to get familiar with the culture that some places I travel to. So those are some of the good pros that I have for traveling. And then also it seems like it's cheap.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's like why would I want to go and pay rent in the U.S. when I can go outside the U.S. and go travel and be paying a lot less than I would there. You know, it's like the money I'm spending on rent, I could use that on food, hospitals.
So do you think if we have more digital nomads that do what you do you think it would be like what kind of ripple effect do you see that happening on like developing countries?
I think it would eventually affect a lot of things. It might drive prices up because once people realize that how much people are making, I think it'll actually drive the prices up. But I don't think that's going to happen in the near future. I don't think that's going to happen for another 20, 30 years to actually have a ripple effect within the prices and things like that. I think it really just depends on the economy. If someone knows, right? If someone knows that you're getting a shoe for $5, and then charging them $10 to rent it, and then now all of a sudden you know that they're making a lot more, but they still know that you're paying for that shoe for $5.
Yeah.
Do you really think people are going to pay for that shoe again? That's my kind of theory on that. But some cons about working from home, being a digital nomad. It kind of sucks that I can't just tap on my coworker's shoulder.
Okay.
And be like, hey, you had to do this. Can you help me out? Or, hey, when you do have to do this, that they know that office culture. It's really nice to have that office culture once in a while.
Yeah.
Being able to just talk to people and see people's facial expressions.
Yeah.
Not all the time, though.
Definitely.
So, a lot of other people are traveling too. So no one really likes to do that. So when you're having a conversation face to face, it goes back to that psychology that's talking to you about. That's the area of my interest. And that's actually another part of recruiting that I want to get into as well. But the con part is that I don't see anyone's body language. I I don't know how that person's reacting.
Reacting is really.
I don't know how that person's saying it to me in a message.
I feel you.
I don't understand what they're saying in an email. I'm not sure if they're mad at me or if they're really just trying to be professional.
Yeah,
Right? So
that's true.
There's some of those things that you miss
very
when
true.
you're a digital nomad. You don't really understand fully yet. And I think I just kind of forgot this piece though. That's kind of why I fell in love with recruiting, because I was able to help people, able to give advice to people in a career aspect, career growth, resume growth, and being able to get to the place that they really want to be. I've had people cry on the phone, saying like, "Oh my God, this is my dream job. This is exactly what I wanted. This is with my mom here." And I was like, "That's awesome. Like, I love that." They appreciate it so much for the fact that we went on my LinkedIn, we wrote me a recommendation
Oh, wow.
without me even asking.
Interesting.
So I have a boatload of those, and just seeing those just really just makes me happy about doing what I do.
Yeah, it sounds fulfilling.
Yeah, it's something that sticks with me, and it's something that I'm proud of.
Wow, you have an incredible story, bro. Yeah, now that we've discussed why and how you became a digital nomad and some life philosophy in addition to pros and cons of being a digital nomad, is there any last keyword of advice you would give someone watching that would like to be a recruiter in the future so that they can do what you do better than you?
Yeah, definitely. Connect with as many people as possible. Anywhere you go, do as much as you can to talk to anyone and everyone. You don't know who you'll run into. You don't know what kind of experiences you'll get into. Just take a risk, go out and talk to everyone you possibly can. It's the best thing that I can give to anyone. Honestly.
That's some really good advice. Well, thank you so much, Lydia, for being a part of this podcast. And yeah, hope to catch you again sometime.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for tuning in on this episode. And hope to see you on the next one. That was good.